Good morning, happy Monday, and welcome to WatchGuard Security Week in Review, a video podcast dedicated to quickly summarizing the biggest information and network security stories each week and to sharing some security practical tips along the way. As always, I'm your host and security aficionado Corey Nachreiner, and this is the episode for the week starting July 1st, 2013. You may have noticed that this video comes to you a bit late on Monday rather than Friday, which is because of the long U.S. holiday over the weekend. But rest assured, we'll return to our regular scheduled programming this Friday. Let's dive right into this episode with some obligatory software updates, starting with Apple's OS X update. If you're an Apple user, you might want to go and get their OS X update, which they released last week to fix 3 QuickTime vulnerabilities. Attackers could leverage these flaws to execute code on your machine simply by tricking you into running some sort of specially crafted movie file. So be sure to let Apple's automatic software updater patch your machine. Next up, do know that tomorrow, Tuesday, is Microsoft Patch Day, and last week they released an advanced notification warning you that they're going to release 7 bulletins, 6 of which they rate critical. These bulletins will fix flaws in Windows, Internet Explorer, Office, the .NET framework, and a couple other software packages. So if you're a Microsoft administrator, be prepared to patch tomorrow on Patch Tuesday. Next, let's move on to the Edward-Snowden updates for the week. Now, there weren't many new leaks from Snowden this week, but there's been plenty of news. First of all, Snowden is still camped out in a Russian airport and has been sending out requests for political asylum to various countries, and many of them have actually turned him down, so he's having trouble finding takers for asylum. Second up, a diplomat, the president of Bolivia, President Morales, was flying home from Russia. And during the flight, he was trying to land in some European countries, and he was denied being able to land because of rumors that authorities had that Snowden was on his plane. As it turns out, however, Snowden was not on his plane, so this whole incident looks kind of embarrassing for the U.S. diplomatically. And in final Snowden news, this week there's been a lot of articles about his resume and some of the hacking credentials he had listed on his resume. Now, the resume isn't public, but they talk about having certification for ethical hacking, so I'm guessing it's the Certified Ethical Hacker credential, and some other hacking-related credentials on his resume. Now, the media is building this out to say NSA trained this guy to be a hacker. I think that's kind of overstating it. He seems to be a security expert, or he seemed to be pursuing this anyways as part of his career, but I wouldn't call Snowden a hacker per se. In any case, that's the updates for the week. We'll continue to follow Snowden's story as it keeps on evolving, so keep your eye out. So some quick game-related news that's rather serious. If you're a Ubisoft gamer out there that happens to use Uplay, specifically you have an account on Uplay, do know that Ubisoft has been breached. Last week, they sent an email to all their users warning them that they had been breached. They didn't share any details on how they were breached, but they did say that the attacker was able to gain some control of the database server used for credentials. So they have access to your account information, your email, your personal address, and also your login and the hashed version of your password. Now, they do state that they don't store any credit card information, so the bad guys don't have that, but they do have all they need to log on to you on the Uplay network. And if you still make the mistake of using the same credentials everywhere, they may be able to use the stolen passwords that they'll eventually crack to log on to other sites you might frequent as well. So long story short, if you're a Ubisoft Uplay user, you should definitely change your password immediately. You probably got an email that where Ubisoft tells you to do just that. More importantly, if you use that password anywhere else, you need to change it everywhere as well. And I highly recommend you use different passwords on different sites. And if you need help doing that, you should probably use one of the many password management programs that are available out there. So let's end this quick episode with what I think is the biggest story this week, which is a huge vulnerability that affects all Android users, except for a tiny percentage that has already patched. During the week, a company called Blue Box Security Team disclosed that they had found a significant vulnerability in the cryptographic mechanisms that Android or Google uses to sign APK files. And these are the installer packages you use whenever you install new applications on Android. They're actually signed to make sure they're legitimate. They come from who you think they are and they haven't been modified in any way. However, Blue Box shared that there's a vulnerability in this cryptographic mechanism that allows them to change the APK file in some way, to modify it, maybe to put a Trojan in it, but to do it in a way where the signature still shows up as valid. So long story short, they can actually download stuff from Google Play, modify it, put a Trojan in it, and put it back there so that if you download this, it will seem to be still legitimate and unmodified, but it will really contain some sort of malicious Trojan. So this is a huge vulnerability, and while they haven't posted the details for this flaw, they do say that it affects all versions of Android, including very, very old versions of it. Now, the good news is apparently Samsung has already patched this particular flaw for the Samsung Galaxy S4 phone. So if you happen to be a S4 user, you're invulnerable to this particular vulnerability. The team that found it says they're going to disclose more details about it at the upcoming Black Hat conference in the end of July and August. So if you're interested, keep your eye out for that. And I can only assume that Google's probably going to patch Android as a result of this. So my only practical advice for this until it gets patched is be very careful what you download. You should only download stuff from the official Google Play Marketplace, not any unsanctioned marketplace. And even then, be very careful what you download. Pay attention to what kind of permissions it tries to get. And really, you should avoid installing anything you don't really need, because you never know if it's been modified and Trojaned. Hopefully Google will patch this soon, and when they do, we'll let you know. So that covers the week's news in this slightly belated episode. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you'd like more regular security content, be sure to check out our blog, watchguard-security-center.com, and you should also follow me on Twitter. I'm @SecAdept, or follow my company WatchGuard @WatchGuardTech. As always, thank you for watching, and here at WatchGuard, we're rooting for you.